I'm not splitting a college fund, Dad said, voice smooth like a contract. We can't waste money on 2 educations. Mom nodded without looking at me. You're resourceful, Mia. You'll land on your feet. Layla's the academic. That was the night I learned how families pick favorites in the language of invoices. I was 18, holding a brochure with dorm photos that smelled like possibility. Layla was holding the checkbook. They told the neighbors I took time off to figure things out. Translation: I boxed up my life and left with a duffel and a gas card that declined at the second station. Layla toured campuses posting acceptance letters like trophies. I scrubbed cappuccino foam off counters, taught myself UI design between night shifts, and slept in a sublet with a window that wouldn't close. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I opened a secret savings account and renamed it Tuition Mine. 2 years and 3 promotions later, the app I designed for a tiny bakery chain blew up. Orders doubled. The owner cried into a flour-dusted apron and handed me an envelope with a bonus I didn't know how to hold. I didn't buy a car. I didn't buy shoes. I bought classes community college to university quietly, invisibly, online and at dawn. I learned to wear silence like armor. Last month, a registrar slid a diploma into my hands with a smile that didn't require permission. Computer science. Summa cum laude. No debt. No family name in the acknowledgements. I walked to the parking lot, sat in the driver's seat of the same sputtering Civic with the duct-taped mirror, and typed one message to the group chat I'd muted for years. In town tonight. Stopping by. I pulled up to the house that still smelled like lemon cleaner and performance. The porch light clicked on as I reached the steps. Reflex, or surveillance. Inside, Layla laughed at something Dad said, a neat little sound that bounced off granite and glass. Mom saw me first. Her smile rearranged itself into politeness. Mia, she said, like a hostess greeting a surprise guest. We weren't expecting. I won't stay long. I placed a thick, sealed envelope in the center of the table like a centerpiece. Dad's fork paused midair. Layla's bracelet chimed against her water glass. What is this? Dad asked. The thing you said you couldn't afford, I said softly. Mom reached. Her nails clicked against the flap. When she opened it and saw the embossed seal, the color left her face like someone turned down a dimmer. The diploma glowed under chandelier light. Layla leaned forward, eyes scanning, mouth parting. You forged this, Mom breathed. I almost smiled. I built it. Silence cracked. Dad pushed back from the table. You had no right to ambush us. Ambush? I tilted my head. You're the ones who emptied the fund and called it practicality. Layla finally spoke, voice small. You went to college, without telling anyone? I went, I said, without asking permission. Dad tried to rally. So you're here to gloat? No. I slid a second envelope beside the diploma. Certified copies, scholarship letters, offer from a tech firm downtown, a lease for a small loft 3 blocks from the river. I'm here to return something. What? Mom whispered. Your story about me. The kitchen clock ticked, the same one that once policed curfews and SAT practice while they stared at the evidence of a daughter who refused to stay written as the cautionary tale. Layla's gaze flicked from me to the diploma to Dad, like a metronome measuring the collapse of a myth. Then Dad's phone buzzed on the counter. He glanced, and his jaw clenched. You posted this? He hissed. I blinked. Posted what? He turned the screen. My name. A headline. A photo from graduation I hadn't shared with anyone. The room went colder than January tile, because if I didn't post it, someone else did. Who? Dad demanded. Layla swallowed. Mia, don't be mad. The front door handle turned. The door creaked open before she could finish. A man in a charcoal suit stepped inside, calm, official, carrying a thin leather briefcase. My parents froze. Mr. and Mrs. Dalton? He asked politely. I'm here regarding your daughter's scholarship foundation contribution. Mom blinked. Our what? The man smiled faintly. The university listed your family as donors for their Merit Persistence Scholarship, the same program that fully funded Miss Dalton's degree. He nodded toward me. We're confirming the details before publication of the press release. Dad's knuckles tightened around his fork. There's been a mistake. We didn't... Oh, there's no mistake, I said, voice steady. I submitted the paperwork myself. The scholarship was anonymous. I named it the Dalton Fund because I wanted it to mean something. Mom's lips parted, outrage and disbelief flickering behind her eyes. You used our name? I used what you gave me, I replied, and what you didn't. The representative thanked us, left a glossy brochure on the table, and disappeared into the night, leaving silence thick enough to choke on. You made a fool of us, Dad said finally, his voice cracked, low and dangerous. You think we'll let people believe we helped you? I think people will believe whatever truth survives longest, I said, and this one will outlive your version. Layla stood abruptly. Stop it, both of you. She's right. You told everyone she ran away. Enough, Mom snapped, voice trembling. Your sister humiliated this family. You think you understand what sacrifice is? We gave her everything. I laughed quietly. Everything you didn't want to keep. Her eyes darted toward Dad, searching for rescue, but he was already scrolling through his phone, probably drafting a statement to spin the story before it hit his colleagues. He muttered, "We can fix this." That sentence, "we can fix this," was the soundtrack of my childhood. The translation, "We can bury it again." I picked up the brochure the man had left behind, folded it neatly, and slipped it into my bag. You don't get to fix me, I said. You already tried. As I turned to leave, Layla's voice cracked. Mia, wait, please. I didn't mean for it to go public. I was proud of you. I paused at the door, hand on the frame. Then don't apologize for telling the truth. When the door closed behind me, I expected to feel vindicated. Instead, I felt still, not angry, not triumphant, just free. I sat in the car for a long time, watching my parents' shadows move across the dining room window, silhouettes pacing like caged things. The house that once swallowed my voice now looked small, shrinking. My phone buzzed again, Layla. I almost ignored it, but something in me hesitated. I answered. They're calling everyone, she said, voice shaking. Uncles, aunts. Dad told them you hacked the university website. I sighed. Let him. The truth doesn't need defending. Layla sniffled. You don't understand. He's furious. He's saying you'll regret this. I already regretted giving them power, I said. That's over. Where will you go? Home. She hesitated. Where's that? I looked out the windshield, where city lights shimmered over the horizon like a new language. Where they can't rewrite me. That night, I checked into a small hotel downtown and opened my laptop. My inbox was flooded, journalists, recruiters, strangers congratulating me. But one email stood out. Subject: Teaching Fellowship Opportunity, Seattle. I clicked it open, a paid mentorship program for underprivileged girls in tech. The kind of offer that could build something real, something lasting. I stared at it for a long time, thinking about every version of myself that had been told no. Then I hit reply. I'm interested. Minutes later, another email arrived, this time from an address I knew too well. Mom, you've gone too far. Take it down before we lose everything. I typed 3 words and hit send. You already did. Then I closed the laptop, turned off my phone, and let silence do what it does best, finish what words can't. By morning, the story had gone viral. By sunrise, my name was trending in 3 states. Disowned daughter funds her own education name scholarship after parents who refused to pay. The article spread faster than gossip ever could. Screenshots, shares, hashtags, every version of my story carried the same thread: resilience. And that, more than any diploma, was the thing my parents couldn't control. By noon, the calls started. Unknown numbers, blocked numbers, family group chats resurrected from the dead. I didn't answer a single one. Then, at 1:07 p.m., an email appeared with a subject line I hadn't seen in years. From, Dad, we need to talk. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Mia, this is out of hand. Your mother hasn't stopped crying. Layla can't leave the house without people whispering. You made your point. Take the scholarship name down and we'll consider helping you financially on our terms this time. I read it twice, then 3 times. Not because it hurt, but because it sounded exactly like him, a deal, not an apology. I hit reply. You don't negotiate with your daughter like a contract, Dad. You lost that right when you sold my education for your comfort. Then I hit send, closed the laptop, and let the silence hum. That afternoon, I went for a walk. The city looked different when you weren't living for someone's approval. Every window reflection looked like a version of me I hadn't met yet, one that didn't flinch when her phone buzzed. When I came back, there was a letter slipped under my hotel door. No stamp, no envelope, just my name written in Layla's handwriting. They're not eating. They're saying you've ruined us. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought if people knew what you'd done, they'd see how strong you are. Now they hate me too. I sat on the edge of the bed, reading it under the hum of the air conditioner. For the first time, I didn't feel anger, I felt pity. Not for myself, for her. For the version of me she still was craving their approval like oxygen. I wrote a note on the back and mailed it the next morning. You didn't ruin them, Layla. You revealed them. And that's the first step toward freedom. That night, a notification popped up on my screen. Layla Dalton, followed you. No caption, no comment. Just a quiet signal across the digital noise, I see you. But the calm didn't last long. 2 days later, a journalist reached out. We're running a feature on self-made scholarship recipients, she said. We'd love your perspective, especially on the family dynamic. I almost declined. I didn't want to give my parents more ammunition. But then she added something that stopped me cold. Your father reached out earlier. He wanted to comment for the piece. What did he say? I asked. He claims it's all a misunderstanding, that you fabricated your version for attention. I laughed under my breath. Classic. Then you can quote me, I said. Tell them this. I don't need to invent trauma. It already had my last name. The article dropped 48 hours later. It didn't just go viral. It detonated. People weren't just sharing the story, they were dissecting it. Comment sections filled with strangers saying, that was me, my parents did this too, thank you for saying what we couldn't. For every hateful post my parents made, 10 messages of support followed. Teachers, classmates, even neighbors I hadn't seen in years. It wasn't just my redemption anymore. It was a mirror held up to every family that confused control with love. That evening, as the sky turned lavender over the skyline, I got one last call from an unknown number. I let it ring out once, twice, 3 times. Then I answered. Mia? The voice was small, trembling. My mother. Please, your father's lost his job. People are talking. You don't understand what you've done. I closed my eyes. No, Mom, I understand perfectly. For once, everyone else does too. She went quiet. Then, softly, almost breaking, she whispered, You've turned us into villains. I took a breath. No, Mom, you wrote that part yourselves. The line went silent, except for the faint sound of her crying, the same kind of crying that used to manipulate, not mourn. This time, it didn't reach me. When the call ended, I stood at the window watching the city lights flicker like applause. They always wanted to make me small. And now the world had seen what small looks like. It wasn't me. The next morning, sunlight poured through the blinds, like forgiveness I hadn't asked for. My phone was still buzzing from notifications, podcasts quoting the article, universities tagging me, people calling me a symbol of self-made success. I didn't feel like a symbol. I just felt awake. I walked to a cafe near the harbor, ordered black coffee, and sat by the window scrolling through messages. Among the flood of congratulations, one stood out. It was from a man named Eric Holden, a recruiter from a tech startup in Seattle. Mia, your story reached us. We admire your independence and we're opening a new mentorship division for women in STEM. Would you consider leading it? For a moment I didn't move. Then I smiled, not out of pride, but out of something quieter. Closure. I replied, yes, I'm ready. But closure has a strange way of testing you before it settles. That evening, Layla called. Her voice was tight, tired, like she'd been crying for hours. They're leaving town, she said. Mom says they can't show their faces anymore. Dad keeps blaming me. He says I betrayed him by siding with you. I sipped my coffee, staring out at the fading sky. You didn't betray anyone. You just stopped lying. She hesitated. They're threatening to cut me off. No inheritance, no trust fund. I let the silence hang. Then softly, then maybe that's the best gift they could give you. Layla didn't answer for a long time. When she did, her voice cracked. How did you stop caring, Mia? I didn't stop caring, I said. I stopped needing. The line went quiet again, and I heard her breathing slow, shaky, but alive. Maybe I'll come visit you in Seattle, she said finally. I'd like that. When we hung up, I realized something. Revenge had transformed. It wasn't fire anymore. It was air, invisible, calm, necessary. 3 weeks later, I boarded a plane to Seattle. The city glittered beneath the clouds, all steel and light and second chances. My new office wasn't big, a glass cube above the harbor, but it was mine. The walls were blank, waiting for new stories. On my first day, I gave a short speech to the team of interns. I grew up being told some dreams weren't worth investing in, I said. Turns out, that's exactly why they were. Applause filled the room, not thunderous, just real. Later that afternoon, a courier dropped a small envelope on my desk. No return address, no name, just MD, written in trembling cursive. I didn't need to open it to know. Still, I did. Mia, we read everything. The articles, the comments, we've lost friends. Your father's reputation is gone. Maybe that's justice for you. I can't pretend to understand the world you live in now, but I hope someday you remember the good parts of home. Love, Mom. I folded the letter carefully, placed it in the drawer, and whispered, "There were no good parts, Mom, just lessons." Oh. That night, I walked along the pier, city lights dancing on the water. For the first time in years, the world didn't feel like something I had to prove myself to. I pulled out my phone and opened a new post. To every girl told she's not worth investing in, build yourself anyway. You're the best return you'll ever get. Within minutes, the post started to spread shares, comments, hearts, but none of it mattered like the silence after. That kind of silence, full, not empty, was new. As I stood there watching the tide roll in, I realized revenge was never about making them pay. It was about making myself whole. I had rewritten the story. And this time, they couldn't edit a single word.